Hi and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire. I wanted to share with you a couple ways that you can use your dies to create one-layer cards, including die cut masking and stamping. I'm going to show you two examples today, but before we jump in, I want to apologize. The lighting isn't that great on this video. I just set up my temporary craft space at my new house, and I haven't figured out the lighting quite right just yet, so stay tuned. I'm hoping it'll get better. Okay, now the products I use today are from the newest Hero Arts monthly kit, the September kit. This is one of my favorites so far because it is packed full of products. All the products that you see here are included in the monthly kit, and the price is only $34.99, and its value is over $65. That is a huge, huge deal. Now, there are add-ons available also, but I'm just going to be using mostly the products from the kit today. And I actually created two cards using the products from this kit, and I didn't even touch a lot of the things included. So you can see there's a stamp set, all these little dies, including that cute little acorn, and then 3 larger dies also. Here's a closer look at the stamp set. Now mine is a prototype, so it doesn't have the label on it, but I wanted you to get an idea of the great images in it. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the first card, the red card that you see here. For this, we're going to do some die cut masking. This is easy and something that you can do with any dies that you may have. I'm using Inkadinkado stamping masking paper. You can use any masking paper or even just typing paper for this. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut from that masking paper one of the dies that's included in this kit. This one's my favorite because you can use them individually, kind of like a flourish going across a card, or you can die cut 2 and match them up and it becomes a wreath. So you can use it in many ways. So I'm going to die cut 2 different pieces of masking paper to create the card for today. Now, as I mentioned, there are several ways that you can use this die. So you can use one of these flourishes individually, or you can kind of put 2 close to each other, or you can put 2 together to create a circle in the middle so you have a beautiful wreath. I really like that there are so many possibilities for it. Well, today I decided to kind of use these as a frame on my card, but I just wanted to show you the other ways that you can arrange them. So I have my 2 flourishes down onto my white cardstock where I want them to be. So I'm going to ink in those areas, but I have a hard time positioning the negative space exactly where I want it. So what I do is I first put down the positive space, that flourish on my card. Then I take the negative space and put it around it. See how I'm kind of fitting it right over the mask that's on my card? Then I'm just going to lift this up and peel the positive space out so that I have the negative space on my card. So now when I ink over this, I'll have that flourish perfectly positioned where I planned it. So I'm just using the flourish positive space as a guide for placing my negative space. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side of my card also for the other flourish. This trick really saves a lot of time and helps me to get it perfectly positioned. Now the positive piece that I'm taking out here, I can put on another card and use it for the masking around it. So you can save all the pieces here for multiple cards. Okay, so once I have my 2 positioned exactly where I want them, I'm just going to go ahead and gently press all the pieces down so that I can ink on top of them. Now, there are many ways you can apply ink over this. You could use your fingers, you could use an ink blending tool from Tim Holtz, you could use Clarity stencil brushes, anything you want. I'm going to use some sponge daubers today. Now, instead of getting 3 shades of brown ink out or 2 shades of brown ink, I'm just going to use the Hero Arts Ombre ink. This is the brown set, so there's a light, medium, and dark brown in this. I'm starting out with the brown, and I'm just dabbing my sponge dauber right onto the light brown ink. And I'm just kind of inking it over the areas where there would be a branch in this image. Now, I'm not being super careful. I do use another Post-it note kind of as a mask so I don't turn all my leaves brown when I'm doing this, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to allow the brown and the green to blend into each other. You'll notice that I'm not putting an even layer of brown down. I'm kind of varying where I make it light and dark. And that just allows the image to look inked instead of just a flat stamped image. That's one of the advantages of using a die cut mask. Okay, after I did the light brown, I'm going and adding in some darker brown from that same ink pad. That ombre ink pad has those 3 shades, and that gives us some depth. And now I'm grabbing my green ombre ink pad, starting with the lightest color on there, and I'm just dabbing the lightest color over it. Now, I kind of spin the sponge dauber as I'm placing the ink down sometimes if I really want to get a darker amount down. But really, it's just best to kind of tap so that you don't shift your mask below. Now I'm coming in with a darker green and adding it towards like the base of the leaves. You can peek up your mask, kind of peel it up to peek underneath to see how it's going, but I really think it's best to not shift the mask because you risk messing up the inking. Okay, after I've done that side, I'm going to go ahead and remove my mask. If you're careful, you can use that mask a few times, and then you can see the beautiful blended color. So much better than just stamping an image like that because you get that blended color because you're doing the inking over the mask. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. I'm using a Post-it note to kind of mask off areas so I don't mess them up. Now here I have a shimmer spritz, and I'm just going to put some into a little cup. Now the reason I'm doing this is I want to dab some of this spritz onto my inked areas here over my mask. So I'm just dabbing the shimmer on top so that it's nice and sparkly. You could spray it, but I didn't want to get that mask wet and risk anything bleeding or not being able to use it again. So this is a nice controlled way to add some shimmer to it. You could use Perfect Pearls for this. You could use maybe a shimmer pen, anything you want. But adding that little bit of shimmer over the ink really makes a big difference on these inked images. So I'm going to show you a close-up of the shimmer there on the right, and you can see on the left it doesn't have the shimmer. It's hard to see in the video, but it really makes a big difference in real life. But you can see the beautiful blending because we use the various ink colors. Now another way to really make this die cut masking pop is to add just a little bit of detail with some colored pencils. I normally use Prismacolor colored pencils, but I couldn't find them in my craft room. So instead, I'm just using watercolor pencils without the water. I'm just putting a little bit of green detail on the leaves and some brown on the stems. Nothing fancy. I am far from an artist, so I'm not good at drawing these things. Really, I'm just going with the guide of the stamps. Okay, so now I wanted to add some berries to this. I originally was going to make this a Christmas card, but I decided not to at the last minute, but I thought the red berries were fun anyways. I have my red ombre ink, so I have a few shades of red there. And I have some masking paper here. You could use scrap cardstock if you wanted to. And I've punched 3 size holes in it with different size hole punches that I have. And I'm going to use these to create berries. So I have a different sponge dauber here, and I'm just dabbing some red ink over those little punched holes so I can create 3 different size berries. Now you could find some circle stamps and stamp them if you wanted to. But since we have that soft ink look for the leaves and the stems, I thought it would be best to stick with that for the berries also. Now remember, you could die cut just from white cardstock these flourishes and these berries, ink them up, and then glue them onto a card. But this gives us a 1-layer look that's really pretty. Now I'm going in with a red colored pencil and kind of circling around the edges and leaving the center of the berries light just for the look of dimension. This really makes a big difference in kind of giving that dimensional look to this 1-layer card. As I mentioned, I was going to do a Christmas message in the center here, but I decided to instead make it a hello card. I'm stamping this Spring Hello stamp from Leah. This is a Hero Art stamp set. It's a small one with a great price point. Stamping it in the center with Versamark ink. I'm going to add some Hero Art's gold embossing powder, and I'll go ahead and heat set that. And that gives us a little bit of raised dimension there with the gold embossing, but otherwise this is a 1-layer card. Now, I will give you a closer look at the stamp set that this hello is from a little bit later in this video. Okay, so now I want to add this to a red note card and have it crooked, but I wanted something in the background. So I decided to take a thinking of you greeting and stamp it repeatedly on the background with the darker red ink. Now, I didn't want to waste my time stamping this repeatedly over the whole note card because not all of the note card would be showing. So I'm just stamping it along the bottom, the top, and the sides because that's all that's going to show when I glue my stamped panel on top. Now you could do a background stamp if you wanted to, but I like how the thinking of you greeting goes nicely with the hello that's in the center. It kind of makes it a little more interesting, a little more personal. So I'm just going to go ahead and put adhesive around this and then glue this to the front, a little bit off center, kind of cattywampus there, and trim anything that's hanging off the edges. Now this card is kind of a 1-layer card still. I did glue that layer onto a note card, and I am adding a little bit of dimension by putting some glossy accents on those berries so they kind of have the look of dimension to them. But otherwise, you could use this technique for a true 1-layer card if you wanted to. Looking at this, it's kind of hard to believe that you used a die cut to create that, but you can see all the detail you get from the various ink colors, the little bit of colored pencil, and the added shimmer. This brings us to our second card for today. In the first card, I used my die to create a mask, which resulted in a one-layer technique. Well, here I'm going to use my die to create a stamp that results in a one-layer technique. So I took one of the other dies from this same Hero Arts monthly kit, and I die cut it from some white craft foam, which has a little bit of dimension to it. It die cuts beautifully, and all I'm doing is putting some temporary adhesive on the back of it, just in a few places, and I'm gluing it onto my acrylic block. So I've actually created my own stamp here from craft foam. It's amazing how well this stamps also, and it's unbelievable that the results are so crisp. I'm amazed that I used a die to create the mask for the first card and the stamp for this card, and both turned out to look like they were stamped, but with much more detail. Now, I first stamped it with a darker brown ink, and I thought that was a little bit too dark, so I stamped it off on scrap paper. And now I'm inking it up with Hero Arts soft brown ink. This is a great brown. And check out how beautifully this stamps. And you could stamp this a few times. This stamp can be used a few times over and over again. I did some quick scribbling over that stamped area with a darker brown pencil just for some added faux dimension. And then I picked a little flower image from this Hello stamp set that I told you I used earlier in the video. It's a great small stamp set with a wonderful price point and some great sentiments on it. I took a tiny little flower from that, and I'm stamping it repeatedly around the little wreath with a few different colors of Hero Arts inks. Here I have a dark quartz, just rust, red royal, and butter bar. So I just have some fall colored flowers on it. Now you could make this wreath any season at all. I almost did it with little blueberries and maybe some silver wreath to kind of give it a winter look. You can really change this up to get a lot of different styles out of it. I used the thanks sentiment that's included in the stamp set in this month's Hero Arts kit, and I stamped that with Versamark ink. I'm adding gold Hero Arts embossing powder, and I heat set that, and check out the shine that you get with that. I did trim this piece down a little bit and glued it onto a copper note card that I created with the copper cardstock that's included in this kit also. It's a beautiful fall copper shimmery cardstock. Now I'm going in this time with my Spectrum Noir shimmer pen and adding shimmer to all the little flowers and the wreath itself, just coloring right over it. That shine really makes a big difference and helps it to match that shimmer cardstock that we have for the note card. Here I have a gold pen, just adding tiny little gold dots to the center of the flowers, and the gold matches the thanks heat embossing really nicely. I'm also adding some little berries around with that gold pen also. And here you can see all the shine that you get with all the different techniques that we did. It's hard to believe that you used a die to create that wreath. I encourage you to look at the dies that you have. Many of them would work great for a masking or creating your own stamp technique. Now before we go, I wanted to show you how I decorated the envelopes to match these cards. I have some Hero Arts craft envelopes. I use those all the time. They're great texture to them. Here I'm stamping that same wreath with a darker brown ink and then just adding a few flowers with the Just Rust ink. And I thought that would be the perfect match for the card. I did take the gold pen and add some little scribbles here and there along the wreath just to give it a little bit of shine and better match the card. Okay, and for the envelope for the first card that we created, I just die cut from some craft foam, that same die that I used for the masking. I just tore off a little piece of it, a little branch of it. I've temporarily adhered it to an acrylic mount, and I'm stamping it with Hero Arts Unicorn White Pigment ink right along the flap of the craft colored envelope. I just thought that was a nice subtle touch. And then I did use my little circle mask to create little dots of berries with that red ink along the edge. You can see how quick it is to use that little berry mask or that little circle mask to create little dots here and there. So there you have a way you can use your dies for masking or for creating your own stamps. If you're interested in the products that I talk about, they are linked below in my YouTube description. They're always there. Or you can go to my blog at jennifermcguireinc.com for additional pictures, sources, giveaways, and such. In the middle are 2 other videos on creative ways to use masking on your cards. So be sure to check those out. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll return again soon and have a great day.